and we also discussed the advantages of both the vehicles, and we also started with the history, and we discussed also the design of electric vehicles. So this is what we have discussed till now, and we have solved two problems also. And in this class, we are going to conclude. What we have started yesterday. Yesterday we have started an overview of whatever we have discussed till now from the first unit. And with that context, now we'll go ahead with the discussion. Okay, so now I'll go back to the PPT where we have stopped yesterday, and then we'll proceed from there. If at all, if you have any joining issues, please let me know. 1 minute, I am okay. Now, yesterday we stopped discussing, we stopped at this point of time where we have discussed about tractive effort. So we discussed that tractive effort is a total combination of all the forces that are acting on the vehicle, and to oppose all these forces, that force which is required to oppose all these forces and to move in whichever direction we require, that is called as the tractive effort. And we have discussed all the components of this total force. We understood that there are 4 components of this tractive force. One is the component because of the gradient. One component is because of the aerodynamical friction. So we have to oppose the air and we have to pull the vehicle. So that force that is required to pull this against the aerodynamical force. Okay. And that is the aerodynamical force. And then we have rolling resistance, which is the resistance offered by the wheels and all the moving parts of the vehicle. Compared to an internal combustion engine, we know that the...
Sir, PPT is not visible.
Okay. Sorry. I think I have not... oh, sorry. Yeah, I did not go for the presentation. Okay. Now, is the presentation visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Okay. Now, in the last class, we have discussed the total force acting on the vehicle and what is the force that is required to pull the vehicle. So we have understood that the tractive effort or the force required to pull the electric vehicle is the sum of all the forces acting on the vehicle. So this is force required for acceleration, force required to move the vehicle against the acceleration due to gravity, and this is the force required to oppose the aerodynamical friction and force required to oppose the rolling resistance. So the total forces have to be supplied in order to move the electric vehicle forward. So that force is called as tractive effort. So this is the formula which we can write it in different ways. And in the last class we have seen all these components. What is rolling resistance? Rolling resistance is the resistance offered by all the moving parts. The most contribution of this, the major contribution of this rolling resistance is because of the wheels, and some resistance is offered by the gears and differential transmission systems and the gear and clutch mechanism. And aerodynamical force, the force which opposes the vehicle to move, that is the air resistance. So air offers some resistance against the vehicle, that is aerodynamical force. And acceleration due to gravity, whenever we have to pull the vehicle upwards or downwards, whenever we are moving the vehicle up the hill or up the gradient, then more force is required. So that force which is required to pull the vehicle upwards is called as acceleration force required for acceleration due to gravity. And Fa is the simple force which is required to move the vehicle. Okay, right. So now if you consider all these 3 forces are considered, mostly the rolling resistance and force required against aerodynamical force. These 2 forces are considered to be the losses, because this is the basic force which is required. Fa is the basic force, mass into acceleration, and Fg is also a basic force which is required to pull the vehicle. So these are generally not considered as losses, but these 2 are considered as losses. Okay, right. Am I clear? Is my screen visible to everyone? Yeah. Am I visible? Am I visible and am I audible to everyone? Shiva Reddy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Arshad, are you there?
Sir.
Okay. Right. Okay. Right. We'll go ahead with the presentation. Okay. Right. I'll finish off this. Then we'll go for solving a problem. Right. So all these we have finished in the last class, right? I think we have discussed all these things, right? Yes, we exactly finished this point, and after this, we concluded yesterday's class. So gradient is the angle or the change in the inclination of the road, whichever the vehicle has to move. And maximum gradient is the maximum angle or maximum gradient or maximum uphill where the vehicle can move on. So above this maximum gradient, the vehicle is not designed in order to move up. So this is maximum gradient. And then after this, yeah, this you already know that the total force is sum of this FTR is the tractive effort. So this is equal to FAD plus F rolling plus M into A, which is FA. So FA is also mdv by dt. So here, this is the expression for mdv by dt. So why we are writing this is, in order to solve the value of V, we want to know what is the velocity of the vehicle. So for this value, this expression is rewritten as dv by dt is equal to this form. So this expression is written like this. So now in this FTR by M minus G C0 is considered as K1, and this value rho by 2M CD AF plus G C1 is considered as K2. So then this equation becomes dv by dt is equal to K1 minus K2 V square. So you must remember this equation, because in order to find the velocity value, we have to know what is dv by dt. So if we solve this equation, this is a differential equation, and if you solve this, then we can calculate what is velocity v of t, where K1 is this value, FTR by M minus GC0, and K2 is rho by 2M CD AF plus GC1. I think this is clear to everyone, right? Am I clear to everyone? Yes, Taufik, am I clear? Am I audible? Mohammed Taufik? Sripa? I think, are you there or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So is everything clear to you up to now? Till now?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So you have to remember these expressions. If you remember this expression, you can write it easily. So dv by dt is the change in the velocity, and if you solve this expression, you will get v of t, which is equal to square root of K1 K2. K1 is this one, which is FTR by M minus GC0. So this is K1, and this coefficient of V square is K2. So by substituting these values in this expression, you can find the velocity of the vehicle. Okay, right. Now, if you want to calculate the distance traversed, so the distance traveled or traversed by the vehicle, what you can do is, from the previous expression, if you, how can you get distance from velocity? So from this, if you find out ds by dt, which is nothing but v of t. So from this expression, you can get Vt, which is equal to Vt tan h of K2. This is nothing but this expression reduced in a different way. So from this expression, velocity, you can get the distance traveled. Okay. So from this ds of by dt, if you integrate this expression, ds by dt, which is velocity, from that you can get distance. Am I clear? Are you understanding what I'm saying? See, here you have achieved v of t. Okay. So if you find this v of t is nothing but ds by dt. Okay. So this ds by dt, if you integrate this with respect to the time traveled, so that is the time for which you are integrating this expression. Sorry, this has gone back. Okay. So if you integrate this expression with respect to this time, then you'll get the distance traveled. So in an electric vehicle, the distance traveled is very, very important. Why? Why the distance traveled in an electric vehicle is very important?
Because electric vehicle cannot move longer distance.
Yeah, the main problem is, for a single charge, the electric vehicle cannot travel hundreds of miles. Okay, the best possible is only, I think, 300 miles. So is the recent electric vehicle which can travel for one single charge. If you charge for 15 to 20 minutes, it can travel for up to 300 miles. That is the latest one. So you cannot move beyond that. And if you still reduce the cost of the vehicle, you cannot even travel that much distance. You may be traveling 60 kilometers or 80 kilometers or 100 kilometers for one charge. So that is the constraint. So for that, now you try to understand that if you limit the velocity, you have to remember that you can travel for longer distance. How is that possible? If I limit the velocity, how can I travel for longer distance? Yes? My expression,
Less consumption of power. Sir.
Yeah, less consumption of power. Yes, you are right, exactly. So if you reduce the velocity, the power drawn by the vehicle decreases. So when the power drawn by the vehicle decreases, we can travel for longer distance. So that is why we should be a little optimized, right? When we design the electric vehicle, we must be optimized that the velocity is designed in such a way that the distance also traveled increases. So this is a challenge in electric vehicles. Okay, so that is why if you observe in the olden days, we used to have Mahindra Reva. Do you remember that vehicle? It is a two-seater car. Okay, it's a hatchback with two-seater capacity, and we have a small seats at the back. So that Reva car used to the maximum velocity was only 50 kilometers per hour. Okay, but now it has increased. Now they are able to travel more than 120 kilometers also per hour using electric vehicles in India itself. Okay, if you see e-Verito, all these vehicles travel at more than 120 kilometers per hour. Okay, right. Okay, now from this expression st, we can also calculate t. So t is the time of travel. So if you solve this expression for t from this equation, you can get time. So time of travel tf or tftr, it is represented in different ways. So this t is equal to 1 by, this equation is nothing but you can get it from this expression. Okay, right. Yeah, by solving this expression also you can get this time. Okay, so you can get it from this expression, from cos h or even from tan h. Okay, so these two are different ways of finding time. So what I mean to say is, from this also you can find time, or from this expression also you can find time. The only thing is, here the expression is in terms of velocity, and here the expression is in terms of time. Okay, is that clear to everyone? Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, I'll show you. When I show you a problem, you can get clarity. Okay, you can get exact clarity about these equations. Okay, right. Now power, the total tractive power that is required to pull the vehicle is equal to the tractive effort and the velocity at which the vehicle travels. Okay, so now if you can understand that the force required, okay, and the velocity. So these two are the specifications which we have to select. What is the velocity of the vehicle and what is the tractive effort that is required for the vehicle. From this we can get the power. Now why power is required here? Power is not only required to find the capacity of the vehicle, but also to arrange the battery management system. So power decides what is the capacity of the battery required. So this power capability of battery must be arranged. Okay, and in order to find the energy changes, you also should know the energy. Energy is nothing but time into power. So this power, if I consume for 1 hour, what is the energy? If this power, if I consume for 2 hours, what is the energy? So we must also be in a position to give, not only power of the battery must be higher, but the energy capacity must be higher. So what do you mean by power and energy? If I have power, if I have a high powered battery, do I guarantee that it can run for longer distance? I may have a high powered battery, but does it guarantee that I can travel for longer distance? Harishwar, can you answer my question? Harishwar? Uh, 17187 civil. Harish, yeah. If I have a high powered battery or high specific power battery, can I travel for longer distance?
Sir.
Yes. Okay. We'll hear the same answer from any other. Sripal Reddy, 398. If I have a high powered battery, see,
Yes,
can I travel for longer distance?
Yes, sir.
No. The answer is no. Muhammad Umar, are you available? Abdullah Umar.
Yes, sir.
See, I want you to be visible, right? I am always visible to you, right? I feel happy if you are visible to me, so that I feel that I am in the class. Okay, okay. Uday Kumar, 310, 3L0. Are you coming for the first time?
Friends.
Uday Kumar?
No, sir. Last week I'm absent, sir.
Okay, okay. Now, why, if I have a high power also, I cannot run it for a longer time? Yeah, it is like this. The power drawn, see, suppose if you have a high power, okay, right? If the power drawn capability of the vehicle is higher, then what happens is it will discharge very fastly. Okay, but if the same vehicle has a low drawing power capability, then it runs for longer distances. I'll explain this like this. Okay, I'll take you cannot understand it directly, but if I write it with an expression, then you can understand, right? Why I'm saying this. So now if you take the how is a battery measured? How is the battery capacity measured?
In terms of volt.
No, it is charge. Charge, but here we write it in different way. It is measured in ampere hours. Okay, now tell me what is the general capacity of the mobile phones nowadays you are using?
mAh.
mAh. No, what are the capacities?
4,000, 5,000.
Yeah, approximately. Yeah, you are correct. 3,000 or 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. Okay. Now this is ampere hour. So ampere hour. So here ampere means current. Okay. Am I clear? And hour means time. Is this clear? So Q is equal to IT. So basically what are we measuring is we are measuring the total charge that is deposited in the battery. Am I clear? Suppose if your mobile battery is say 3000 mAh. Okay. If it is completely 3000 mAh, you can say that the complete capacity of the battery is 100%. Am I clear? Suppose if it is decreasing from the 3000, it doesn't become zero completely, but it will come down around 2000 or 1500 milliampere hours. So by the time it reaches to 1500 milliampere hours, it cannot give out the charge. So that is why we say that it is 0%. Am I clear? Am I clear to everyone? Yeah. Now when I take this current and time, suppose if your vehicle or your mobile phone, if its capacity, let us say 30. Simply I am saying 30 just to make you understand. With a smaller figure I am taking 30, right? So now if I have a ampere hour of 30 and if your car is drawing out 30 amperes, okay, how much time can the car run? My question is, if you have 30 ampere hours battery, okay, and the current drawn by the vehicle is 30 amps, okay, then how much time the battery can run?
The battery cannot be run.
No, the battery can run, but how much time it can run?
For 1 minute.
1 minute? No. What are the units of time? You should know the units of time. It can run for 1 hour. Okay, it can run for 1 hour. Okay, is this clear? Is this clear? Is this clear? Suppose if it is drawing 10 amperes, how many hours it can run? If it is drawing
3 hours.
yeah, it can run 3 hours.
3 hours.
So now, is there any power capability here? Is there any measure of power capability here? No. Even though the battery is higher, if it is drawing more current, then what will happen? So here, the major role is time. Okay. So how much time you run the battery decides the discharge. Am I clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ratan Naik. So if I know the power capability, can I say the battery that can run for longer distance?
Sir?
If I have a higher power capability, okay, if I have a high powered battery, okay, can I say that it can run for longer distance? No, I cannot say that it can
No, sir.
run for longer distance. The reason is we should know how much energy it is pulling or how much current it is drawing out. Okay, so Nitish, why are you presenting this? Okay, now everybody, you are able to see my screen?
No, sir.
No. Nitish stopped. I mean, he started his own presentation. I don't know what he is presenting. Nitish, do you want to present anything? Yan Nitish. Okay, right. Okay. Okay, right. Okay. So that means power is not sufficient. Okay. As you know, you should know what is the power that is required and also for how much time the power is required. So this is nothing but the energy. So now we are not only concerned about the power of the battery back, but we should note how much energy. Okay. So that is why, in other terms, how much charge is required, Q, or the energy. So that is why we are also looking at the energy here. Okay. So that is why the power itself is not sufficient. We also look at the energy. So how much energy change is happening for the respective time of the vehicle. And also we calculate the total energy in terms of the change in the kinetic energy and the change in the potential energy and the total losses. E losses is because of the aerodynamical forces and also because of the rolling resistances. Okay. So this is about the power and energy that is required to pull the vehicle. And the most important concept here is the propulsion system design. Propulsion system design means how much force is required to pull the vehicle. That itself is propulsion system design. But what are the other parameters which are required for designing this? For designing the force, we require maximum velocity, we require maximum gradability, we require voltage equations, and also we require the power requirement of the vehicle. Okay. And in addition to this, we also require what is the pickup of the vehicle. So generally pickup means here we consider it as within how many seconds it can move from 0 to VF, or the acceleration. What is the acceleration of the vehicle? Within 6 seconds, what is the acceleration of the vehicle? Okay, what is the fastest running animal? Anyone can say? What is the fastest running animal?
Cheetah.
Cheetah.
Okay. So do you know in how many seconds what's its acceleration?
3 seconds, I guess. 100 kilometers per
Okay.
hour. I
3
guess.
seconds. Are you sure? I think it is 6 seconds, I think. Okay, it can go above 100 kilometers within 6 seconds. Okay, it is above 100 kilometers. So this is the initial acceleration. Within how much short time we can increase the acceleration from 0 to the maximum speed or maximum velocity. So that is initial acceleration. And we have to design this one also. So how can you design this one? You can design this one from this expression. Okay, so from this expression you can design that value also. Okay, and in addition to that, we also should know what is the mass of the vehicle, what is the rolling resistance, what is the aerodynamical coefficient, what is the gradient. Okay, what are the wheel radius, because wheel radius also decides the distance. Okay, and also it decides the weight, I mean the weight of the vehicle and all, etc. And generally we require a higher wheel radius for a heavy vehicle. Okay. So all these are the factors or specifications which are required for the propulsion system design. Okay, and this is the equation basically which we are using. Okay, so acceleration is nothing but FTR minus FRL by M. Okay, right. So now if you go for a hybrid electric vehicle, so in addition to these, we have some more components. I mean, we require some more specifications. So why do we require them? Because in a hybrid electric vehicle, it is a combination of both electric motor and an internal combustion engine. So as we have both, now this hybrid electric vehicle is a function of vehicle velocity, which depends both on motor and the internal combustion engine, right? And also the road characteristics of the vehicle are also considered. So in propulsion system design, these are the parameters or these are the specifications which we consider in order to design the vehicle. Okay. So now with this, okay, so I think this ends this part of the presentation, and now we'll go to the problem. Okay, now I request you to open your notebooks. I want everyone to take out your notebooks and please copy down this problem. Okay, please note down this problem. I'll read it for you. Please take down your notebooks and write this problem. I want everyone to note down this, because these are the problems not for simply solving the problems. Using these problems, we can understand how in real time an electric vehicle is designed. Even though the problem is simple, we are knowing to understand how the electric vehicle is designed in the industry. Okay, so please note on this problem. An electric vehicle has the following parameter values. What is rho? What is rho?
Density.
Yeah, very good. Air density. Where is it required? In calculating the aerodynamical drag force. Aerodynamical force, for that we require rho. Rho is 1.16 kg per meter cube. Mass of the vehicle is 692 kg. And what is CD? What is CD? Someone is now joining the class.
Drag
After 20
coefficient.
minutes. Yeah, CD is the drag coefficient. Okay. CD is the drag coefficient. Then AF?
Aerodynamical force.
No. AF is the area, frontal area, which includes the windshield and the bonnet of the vehicle. Okay. The front windshield, bonnet of the vehicle. So that is AF. Okay. And G is acceleration due to gravity. Okay. And C0 is the coefficient. C0, C1 are the coefficients which we use in aerodynamical force and rolling resistance. Okay. So C0 is 0.009, C1 is 1.75 into 10 power minus 6 S square per meter square. The electric vehicle undergoes constant FTR acceleration on a level road starting from rest at t is equal to 0. So he's mentioning that the vehicle is starting from rest. The maximum continuous FTR that the electric motor is capable of delivering to the wheels is 450. 450 is the maximum tractive effort. So what do you mean by maximum tractive effort? Yes, anyone can answer this. What is the maximum tractive effort? What do you mean by maximum tractive effort?
It is used for how much energy is required for pulling the electric vehicle.
No, that is correct. That is correct. Whatever you said is correct. But what are the components of the maximum tractive effort? Okay, then to answer this, if you complete the question, I'll go to the slide wherein I'll tell you what is this maximum continuous FTR. Okay. Right. Okay. So maximum FTR is 450 newtons. Now he's asking us to calculate what is the VT of FTR. That means we have to plot it. Okay. With respect to FTR, what is the velocity that is changing in the vehicle? Okay. So that he's asking us to plot. So plot means you need not draw it. If you simply write the expression of FT in terms of FT, that's enough. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Hello? Am I clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Simply if you write the expression of FT in terms of FTR for this problem, that is sufficient. Okay. And he's saying that the FTR is 350 Newton. So he's saying that FTR is 350 Newton. Okay. So now this vehicle, even though it can go at a maximum pickup value or tractive effort of 450 Newton, it is only going at 350 Newton. So you have to understand this. Okay. So now you are supposed to calculate the value of VT at these FTR. You have to calculate velocity, and then you have to plot V of t. So here, whatever he has mentioned, he is asking here. So now you can neglect this A and B. Simply here you can plot the value of V of t. Okay. And then you have to find t. What is t? See, this V must be, this is wrong. It is t. Vt is subscript. T is normal text and Vt itself is subscript. So what is the t? What is the TVT? I told you. Just now we have discussed what is the TVT. Time taken for the vehicle to travel. Okay. So TVT is the time taken for the vehicle to travel. Okay. Now he is asking, calculate the time required to accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour. Okay. So he's asking from 0 to 60 miles per hour also, how much time is required to pull the vehicle. Okay. Is this clear? And then he's asking us to calculate PTR. Okay. PTR bar, delta ETR corresponding to the acceleration. Okay. So he is giving the acceleration is 0.98 VT. So here, if you find VT, we can solve all this. Now, did you complete noting down this problem? Yeah, I am unable to see your responses. I mean, yeah, is this problem? I mean, did you completely note down this problem?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now shall we see how to solve this problem? I'm not going to solve this problem, but I'll tell you how to solve this problem. In the next class, I'll see if you got the correct answers or not, then I'll discuss. Okay, right. Okay, so now I'm going to show you all the equations that are required to solve this problem. So here, first of all, we have to find VT. So already we have discussed in the previous presentation itself. Okay, I'll put them side by side. Okay, so that you can understand with respect to this problem how to solve this. Yes, hello. If someone wants to talk. Okay. Right. Okay. Now we'll see the equations. So now, first of all, we want to find what is VT. Okay, those who are listening this class on mobiles, it may be difficult for you, but who have these laptops, you can easily spot them. Right. So first expression is VT. So you can calculate that VT from this expression. Okay, VT is square root of K1 by K2 tan H of square root of K1 K2 T. Is this clear? Hello? Is this clear? So VT, first point, can be calculated from this formula. Square root of K1 by K2. K1 is this one and K2 is this one. And FTR is 350, M is 692, G value is 9.81, C naught value is 0.009, rho is given, CD is given, AF is given, G is given, C1 is given, V square is given. Okay, is this clear? So from these values, you can calculate V of T. Okay, now tell me, what is the difference between small v and capital V? Yes, no one is there now. Again, sudden disappearance.
Small v is velocity.
No, I'm asking you. See, here there is small v of t, right? So generally, when do we use small letter and when do we use capital letter? So please remember. See, generally small letters are used for instantaneous values. Okay, if I want to find the value of velocity at 3 seconds, so then we write small t. Is that clear? And when we write capital V, that means that it may be an average value or it may be an RMS value. Is that clear? So VT represents the whole value and small v represents instantaneous value. Is that clear? Is that clear to everyone? So
Okay,
you
sir.
must remember that. Okay. Now from this expression, by simply substituting K1, K2, K1, K2, you can get the value of V. Okay. Am I clear? Okay, sir. So if you substitute time value, then you'll get it. If you don't substitute the time value as here, then you will get the actual expression. Actual expression in the sense you will get V of t. Okay, right? You will get V of t simply, right? And then how to find t? So t can be calculated from this expression. Okay, so t can be calculated from this expression. Okay, from this expression Vf. Vf is the velocity which you get in the previous bit. So if you substitute these values of 1 by square root of K1, K2 tan H inverse of square root of K2, K2, K1, Vf, then you will get time t. Okay, am I clear? Similarly, if V is 60 miles per hour, suppose if you put 60 miles per hour, then you will get the next bit. Next bit means this one. If you substitute 60 there instead of Vf, then you will get this answer. Okay, am I clear? So once you get this Vt, once you get this time, calculating these is not a big problem. So that formulas are also available here. Simple substitution, that's all. FTR into Vt gives PTR, and if you integrate this PTR expression from 0 to TF or multiply it simply with TF, then you'll get this value. That's all. Okay, so this is how you have to calculate all these values. Am I clear?
Sir.
Okay, so please try to solve this problem. Okay. Yeah, shall we go to the next slide from here? So these are the answers. You can note down these answers also. You can verify them. Please note down these answers and please verify them. So here, that is what I told you. This must be a function of FTR. Okay. So this is FT. Please note down these answers. Once it is finished, please let me know. Then we'll go to the next topics. We will be discussing this problem in the next class. So please solve it. Don't forget to solve this. If you understand these problems, you can know how these values are calculated in the electric vehicles. So design. So tomorrow, if you want to do a small project, a prototype of electric vehicle or an electric vehicle as a project work, then you can use the same formula in order to find what must be the velocity, how much time it can reach, and what must be the power of the battery. To calculate all this, you can use this. Now you can say here, now from this, you can say the battery power, okay, must be around 9 kilowatt. Okay, right? This is the peak value of power required. So you must say that at least a battery of 12 kilowatt is required here. Okay, and energy is 1.61 megajoules. Okay, so from this also you can estimate what must be the battery capacity. Okay, that we'll discuss in the next unit. In second unit, you'll know how to estimate the battery capacity based on these parameters and specifications. You will understand in the second unit how to design the battery and its battery management system. Okay, finished? Yes, hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please make it fast because we have to discuss. I wanted to finish this unit today so that in the next class, freshly we want to start the second unit. If you have any doubts in the meantime, you can ask me. If anyone have their doubts. Yesterday, a new vehicle has been launched. Do you know what is that? A two-wheeler was launched at a price of 20,000 rupees. Two-wheeler at a price of 20,000 rupees. Do you know what is that? In India, it is launched. You can
No,
look
sir.
it on online. No. Okay, please find out then. A vehicle was launched yesterday, not yesterday exactly, but online. It is available online from yesterday, whose cost is 20,000, and you can buy. You can book it for 1,000 rupees only. You can pre-book it is for 1,000 rupees, but don't do that because we don't know how it performs. Okay, right. Okay, finished. Yeah, can I go to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Now, yesterday someone asked me which vehicle is more efficient. Who is that? Is that person available? Someone asked me about the efficiency of the electric vehicle. Who is that?
Yes, sir. I am Srikanth.
Okay, right. Okay, Srikanth. So here you can see in this slide, this electric vehicle efficiency depends on many factors. So in the previous class also, we have seen a slide wherein the overall efficiency is said that to be calculated from well to wheel. Well to wheel means from the oil refinery or from the well where the oil is pulled out. So from the process, starting process of well to the wheel, it is calculated. So here, this is the efficiency of the refining process, efficiency of the electric energy generation. So efficiency of transmission and distribution, efficiency of battery charging, efficiency of the charge and discharge, efficiency of the converter and the motor, efficiency of the transmission system. So now how do you calculate the overall efficiency? The overall efficiency is calculated as the product of all the efficiencies. So here you can see these eta 1, eta 2, eta 3, eta 4, eta 5, eta 6, eta 7. So 7 efficiencies have to be multiplied. Okay. And then you'll get the overall efficiency. So that is why it is very difficult to say that this vehicle, a fuel cell is more efficient. No, the electric battery vehicle is more efficient. No, a power, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle is more efficient. No. So this is the complexity that is involved in saying the efficiency. Am I clear? Am I clear to everyone? So these many efficiencies play an important role. Suppose if you consider all the efficiencies by using a thermal power plant, okay, let us assume that this is a thermal power plant, then there will not be much difference in the efficiencies. You can see that in the next slide. See here on the left side, is my slide visible to everyone? Is my slide visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here on the left side, you can see an internal combustion electric vehicle. Okay. So if you observe its efficiencies at the crude oil level, its efficiency maximum, at the crude oil petroleum, it is 90%. Okay. Here 99%. But here in the engine efficiency, what is the engine efficiency? 22%. So now drastically it has come to 19%. Similarly, if you compare an electric vehicle, here it is only 20%. Then why the hell we have to use the electric vehicles? So this is not a constant value. Don't think that this 20% is exact. This is a survey which was done long back. Okay, this is done in 2010 or 11. Okay, from there I have taken this. But here, if you this is available in the textbook also. So this 20%, if you observe, this has come down because of the electricity generation. Okay, suppose if this is really, if this is replaced by a renewable energy source, so then you can improve this efficiency. Is this clear? Am I clear to everyone? So by using wind plants or by using solar power, to some extent you can increase this, and then this increases. Is this clear? Is the slide clear to you? So as efficiency, overall efficiency is a product of all this. When you multiply this, automatically this comes down. So here you have to find why. Here if you observe electricity generation, if it is through conventional sources like thermal power plants and all, it is 40%. Okay, but if you go for renewable energy sources, it may improve a little and the overall efficiency increases. Is this clear? So this is also called as well to wheel, efficiency from well to wheel. Okay. Now we are going to discuss about the components briefly. So I'll tell you what is a power modulator, what is motor. We have already discussed this, but still we have to mostly know about the batteries, power modulator, and the motor. Okay. Now this is a simple motor. So basically, motor has two parts. One is called as the stator. Okay, magnetic field is mostly created here, or you can create the magnetic field here also. And this part is called as the rotor. So rotor rotates, and stator is stationary, but it provides the magnetic field. And here magnetic field is also induced in the rotor. So this is a basic motor configuration. Is this clear? And the windings are done here. And if it's a DC motor, you will be observing only 2 wires here. If it is a 3-phase motor, you will be observing 6 terminals here. Some disturbance. Yeah, is this clear to all of you? Is this slide clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
No? Okay. So now this motor, this is a simple example of a motor where you can understand what are the parts of a motor. Simply you can say the rotor and the stator. So this is the stator and this is the rotor. And now this part is the shaft. Okay, here you can see shaft. This is shaft. Okay, so this shaft comes outside, and you also have a cooling fan here. Okay, now generally the motors that are preferred are, now we are going for 3-phase AC motor, induction motor. Presently we are using, and also we are using permanent magnet motor. So permanent magnet DC machine, this is called as permanent magnet DC machine. You have 3-phase supply, but you also have an inverter. DC converts it into AC, and inverter does that, and it is used. Okay, so these are the advantages. It has high efficiency, high torque, okay, short constant power range. Okay, and this induction motor, generally it is now being used in Tesla cars and Toyota cars, and it is simple, robust. Okay, it is, but anyhow it is less efficient than the permanent magnet machines. And the third one is switched reluctance motor. Slowly it is, a lot of research is going on, and this is presently used in aircrafts. Switched reluctance motor is also used in aircrafts, and research is going on, and in future, near future, we'll be observing this in the electric vehicles also. Okay, so these are the motors currently which we are using. So basically a motor converts, what does it convert? Electrical energy into mechanical energy.
Mechanical energy.
Yeah, it provides the rotational energy. It converts the electrical energy into mechanical energy. So this is basically about a motor. And now, oh, this is coming down. I have to go to this slide. Okay. So now, then electric motors. How do we choose a particular motor? See here, these are the specifications or the choices based on which we select a motor. Okay. So now you can see, if we want to select a particular motor, we have to see what is the acceleration, what is the braking required, what is the maximum speed, what is the gradability, what is the range, what is the maneuverability, and then all these specifications. Okay, so these many specifications are taken when we select a particular motor for an application. So generally, at this point of time, you need not know all this, but you have to know these specifications like torque, okay, power, peak power, torque, maximum speed, cost, efficiency, volume. Okay, so all these noises, and what are the ratings of the sensors and cooling systems, what is the mounting, what is the mechanical characteristics. So all these specifications, what is the electromagnetic interference, okay, all these are considered when we select a particular motor. Okay, this is again a big thing, but just to brief, you should know a motor selection is done based on its electrical characteristics, mechanical characteristics, and also cost, efficiency, and other parameters like what is the cooling system required, what are the sensors required. So based on all these factors, we select a motor. In specific, we can say based on its electrical characteristics, based on its mechanical characteristics, and based on its cost, efficiency, and other sensors required. So basically, briefly, you can say that. Okay. And then motor is not only the part that is required. Power electronics also plays an important role. But what is power electronics? We have discussed this earlier also. What is power electronics? Ravinder, 173H3. What is power electronics?
Sir, I think semiconductors, all those things, resistor.
Yeah, very good. So that semiconductors. What is electronics basically? In the last class also we discussed. Nitesh, what is Nitesh? Are you there? Yan Nitesh.
Sir,
Yeah. What is electronics? Can you just brief?
electronics,
Yeah.
semiconductors,
What is electrical? Very good. Mostly electrical.
fully conductor.
Mostly electrical deals with conductors, and electronics deals with semiconductors.
Semiconductors.
Now, power electronics. The word power electronics means when we deal with high power applications. So high power applications means wattage, more watts. If you take a motor, we may take 150 watt. 150 watt motor is generally preferred in a two-wheeler. But if you go for a little higher, four-wheeler and all, still the power still increases. So that means when we use these semiconductor devices like diodes, transistors, thyristors, and all these devices, when we use them for high power applications, that is termed as power electronics. So generally, power electronics is used for power and energy. So for power supplies, you might have seen the energy these regulated power supplies. You might have seen the switched mode power supplies. You might have seen UPS, uninterrupted power supplies. You might have seen inverter circuits and all. Your battery charges, all these come into power and energy applications. Okay, motor drives, motors are also controlled by these power electronic devices. So these are the applications of power electronics. Why I am talking this is, here what is the component which belongs to power electronics? Does the battery belong to power electronics? You must answer this. Where are we using the power electronic components? Anusha, are you there? Anusha, where are we using this power electronics? We are using this power electronics to control the motor. Okay, power modulator. So that power modulator is a power electronic device. So for that, power electronics devices are used. For controlling the motor, we are using these power electronic devices. So in the electric vehicle, if you observe, the motor is controlled by an inverter or a rectifier or a DC-DC converter. So that DC-DC converter is called as a power electronic converter. Am I clear? So now we are looking at a higher efficient power converter. So we are looking at high power efficient converter which can control the motor by having less losses. And here these are the power electronic equipment. Okay, a DC-DC converter. So this is from a vehicle. Okay, this is the DC-DC converter which is used in electric vehicles. So what is a DC-DC converter? A DC-DC converter converts DC to variable DC. Battery gives fixed DC supply, but that fixed DC supply needed to be varied depending upon the torque and speed requirements of the motor. Okay, so what is an inverter? Inverter converts DC to AC. So inverter is used whenever we are using a permanent magnet DC machine or whenever we are using a induction motor. Then battery DC supply must be converted to AC requirement of the motor. And rectifiers. Rectifiers are generally, they are used as chargers, plug-in. They are used as chargers to convert AC from the grid or our house supply, which is AC. We want to convert that to DC and charge the battery. For that, we use the rectifiers. So here you can see an onboard rectifier, but this is a larger one. But nowadays, the rectifier size has come down. Now the rectifiers which we are using for the electric vehicles are the size of your laptop chargers. Okay, their size has come down. So power electronics also plays an important role. So the basic objective of this power electronic converter is to convert the supply into the required format of the motor in the terms of voltage and current in order to get the required torque, speed, capabilities. Now, the next part which plays an important role in the electric vehicle is the energy management system. I was using this word, energy management system. It is also called as battery management system. Okay, so the main objective of the battery management system is to see that the batteries are healthy and they run for longer time, to see that they are cooled properly, they are maintained properly. So now these are the parameters which we consider. Okay, what is the state of charge? This we are going to discuss soon. From the next class onwards, we are going to start the second unit. So that is why I'm linking this topics with the second unit now. So here in this second unit, you are going to understand what is the state of charge of the battery, what is meant by that, what is state of health, what is temperature. Now, if you have a Mercedes-Benz car or any other car, do you know how the what will happen when you take those cars to the service showroom? Do you know what happens in the showroom? Yeah, anyone?
Sir, I think they will connect to the system, sir.
Ravinder Reddy, yes, exactly, very good. Nowadays, few cars are coming with a small chip, just like your what you call the SIM, which you use in your mobile phones. Okay, they can either connect that SIM card. It is not exactly SIM card, but it is a smart card. They can simply connect your vehicle to the computer, or that card can be put in a computer, and that will give the complete details of the vehicle. Okay, it is going to tell you the health of the vehicle. Okay, see, nowadays if you go to an hospital, the doctor specifies you to take all these tests. Yes, he gives a prescription, right? Check your BP levels, check your if you are diabetic, they'll ask you, right? And all these things they are going to ask you. Similarly, the health of the complete vehicle can be monitored. Okay, and battery management system is also such a thing wherein just from the vehicle processor which is used, and that processor will be recording all this data into the memory of the card which is used inside the vehicle, and therein it records all these values. What is the state of charge of the battery, what is the state of health of the battery, what is the temperature, what is the current limit, and what is the control. So all these parameters are recorded, and these parameters are controlled by these battery management system components. So we control it by having a cell status detection. So cell status detection means every cell's voltage and current can be calculated. Based on that, we can say if that particular battery is good, it is in a good condition or not. We can protect that and manage that. Okay, and we can balance the cell. We can communicate in the sense we can know the details of the battery, and we can communicate in the sense knowing those details. Just now I told you that if you take the modern cars, high-end cars, simply by connecting the chip, they can know the health of the vehicle. Similarly, thermal management. So all these things are monitored and controlled in electric vehicles by a system called as energy management systems. So this also we are going to understand in the second unit. Okay, and in the second unit we are also going to understand the energy storages. So different types of batteries. What are the different types of batteries? What is the principle of operation of the battery? How the battery is able to charge? How the battery is able to discharge? How do you consider the battery's health? We consider the battery's health in terms of state of charge, state of discharge, and health of battery, and all these parameters, and specific energy of the battery, specific power of the battery. There are many other characteristics which we are going to discuss. Okay, so these are a few of the parameters, right? Internal resistance, cycle life, specific energy, specific power, energy density. So we are all going to look into these terms in the next unit. Okay, so this is called as battery management system. So in that we are also going to see what is the type of thermal analysis and how it is cooled. Okay, are we using liquid immersion cooling or liquid cooling through channels, or air convection? Air convection means natural. Okay, air comes in and it cools. Or forcibly also we can have a fan and we can cool the batteries. So these are the main things which we are going to look at. And about the energy storage systems and battery management systems, we are going to understand them from the next class itself. And about this power electronics and the motors, we are going to learn about this in the third unit. Okay. Any doubts or any clarifications required? You may ask me now. We are almost at the end of the class. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Or if you're unable to ask, you can put in the chat box also. I'll respond. Audio is not clear. Oh, long back. Is my audio clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir.
Okay. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. So we are at the end of the first unit. We have completed the first unit. Okay. And I'm going to forward this presentation soon after the class. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Arshad, do you have any doubts?
No, sir.
Sirisha, J. Sirisha, you have any doubts? Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna, do you have any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. There are two Shravan Kumars. So both of them are available? Shravan Kumar? Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
very good. Any doubts from your sides?
No, sir. No, sir. Clear.
Okay. Okay. Are you following this class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, the only difficulty in this unit is equations. So you have to remember the voltage, time, power, and energy equations, because you'll have simple problems. Okay, simple substitution. Even a 10th class person can do this, but they don't understand the formulae. The difference here is you understand the formulae and you also know why we are using this formulae. You should understand that we are using this formula in order to solve, in order to design an electric vehicle. Okay. Right. Okay. Then I'll do one thing. Now we'll go ahead with the
Attendance.
yeah. That is the most important part, I think, for you. Okay. Right. Okay. I'll now just stop the recording part.